I told his friends he was my doggy and slapped him. What he did next shocked me.
It happened in a blink of an eye, and I couldn't even understand why I did what I did. In hindsight, maybe slapping him and calling him my doggy wasn't the best move. But at the time, it was just a joke, one that transformed our relationship into something I would have never imagined. Hi, please address me as Caroline. I'm really ashamed of what happened, so I'm posting this from a throwaway account and I need some advice on what to do next. So my boyfriend and I have been together for 3 years now and we're currently living together except right now. I don't think that still stands or we still stand and it's destroying me. I know I have this habit of pushing things a little too far, but it was supposed to be a playful slap and comment. I never thought it would blow up the way it did. See, I had known my boyfriend Ben for years before we even started dating. During that time, I was always the one joking around, teasing him a little, and he'd play along. He wasn't the kind of person to do things on a grand scale. Sometimes he was a bit shy to do certain things, and I teased him about it. Regardless, he always puts on a smile, never failing to laugh at my stupid jokes. And when we finally started dating, it felt like everything fell into place. We were not one of those couples who had this fairy tale beginning. We met through mutual friends, hung out in groups, and one day we just sort of happened. And I liked that about us. We were normal. We were real. But that day, the moment I slapped him, everything crumbled before my eyes. The thing is, Ben and I both work at the same company, but we're definitely not on the same level. I'm actually the head of his department, which made things complicated in ways I never expected. From the outside, it's just a job title and a difference in position, but it affected so much more than just our professional lives. When we first met through our mutual friend, he was working at a different branch of the company, but a few months later he was transferred to our branch. We were so excited about it and thought maybe the universe was on our side. I was so happy about the news and I was really looking forward to working with him and so was he. But then everything turned sour. When we first started working together, I was not the head of his department yet. I got promoted a few months later because my hard work paid off. So when I became the head of Ben's department, I saw it as just another step forward in my career and nothing more. But that's where things started to get tricky. Before Ben resumed at the head branch where I was working, our relationship was serious as relationships go, and we were going to work together. So we decided to take the next big step, which was to get a house together. And no, I don't mean rent. We bought a house together and moved in together. We had this amazing night before the first day at work together, given how excited we were. And before we left the house that morning, I told Ben that he should keep us a secret at work, and he asked why. I couldn't really give him a good reason why I wanted it that way, so I told him that he had just started working there, so we don't really have to rub it on everyone's face because it would make me uncomfortable if they say anything negative, and also, I'm trying to maintain a clear distinction between my personal life and professional life. He was very understanding and supportive, so he took my words and did exactly as I said. It's not like I was not proud of my boyfriend, I was. Ben is very handsome, and he has a lot of girls drooling over him from day to day, even at work, and that always annoys the hell out of me. The point was, I love the spotlight. I love the attention, and I didn't want that to be taken away from me. I'm also very beautiful, and I really enjoy the idea of people mistaking me for being single at work, and I didn't want to give them any idea of us dating yet. So I also told Ben he shouldn't give us away. If not, he would be destroying our relationship and I'll break up with him. I told him that when the time is right, we would tell everyone so he didn't see any problems with it. He really loved me and would do anything I wanted. So that was how I used that as an advantage to keep his mouth shut. Sometimes during work breaks, we would still share a little of time together, like going to eat, and maybe if we had the chance, we'd talk to each other. But when I got promoted to being his head of department, it became worse. I didn't want him near me at all, but other girls were always trying to make moves at him, and I hated it so much. Maybe it's because the way he dressed, he had a good sense of fashion and not forgetting the fact that he was handsome. So I told him to dial down on his outfits and that I liked and admire him more when he dresses more simple and less fashionable. Even when I said it, it didn't make any sense to me, but to my own surprise, he agreed. As long as it made me happy, Ben was happy to do it. I was being toxic, and I think I knew it, but I always told myself that a little bit of toxicity was necessary to maintain a fun relationship. But I took my power as his boss to a whole different ballgame. Like in meetings, I'd often catch myself being overly critical of Ben's work, and I'm not sure if it was because I expected more from him or because I felt like I had to maintain a sense of authority over him. Or perhaps it was because I wanted to make it appear as though we disliked other, so no one would ever suspect that something was going on between us. Either way, it was stupid, and I could tell it was bothering him. I noticed how he started to withdraw in group discussions, and while he never said anything outright, There was this underlying tension that I couldn't ignore. Outside of work, things weren't much better. I'd find myself carrying the same energy home, talking about work in ways that blurred the lines between our personal and professional lives. There were days when I'd come home frustrated, and instead of leaving it at the office, I'd bring it up, venting about some mistake he'd made or some task he'd left unfinished. It wasn't fair, but at the time I didn't see how it was affecting him. I really tried to maintain a balance, but it was hard. Being in a higher position meant I was constantly under pressure, and the more I tried to separate the two worlds, work and home, the more they appeared to bleed into each other. Our work relationship became a reflection of how we interacted outside of the office, and I couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. One day during company break time, I saw him leaving the building with 3 of his colleagues, all female. They were beautiful Barbie-like creatures that wanted to get their fancy nails into him. Just as they were about to get into the elevator, I shouted at them to hold the elevator open. Ben did that, but I could see the reluctance in his eyes. If I wasn't already furious, I just got to the boiling point with this action. I asked him where he thought he was going, and he answered that they were going to grab something to eat. I was boiling over. I usually was the one who prepared the meals we both take to work. But since my promotion, I didn't have time for that anymore. Plus, I had to eat out with the other top heads to maintain a status while also planting seeds for future favors, backings, recommendations, and promotions. I didn't care that I couldn't make food for Ben anymore. If it meant him hanging out with those witches, I'd have preferred he woke up 2 hours earlier to prepare a meal. And so, in my usual erratic manners, I sparked with overwhelming rage. I accused him of being a lazy worker who spent a third of his time being a womanizer, right there in the office. He told me in response that he didn't have any work left. He had finished everything he needed to do, and that was where I lost it even more. I told him that he had a lazy mentality as well, that if he was done with the job at hand earlier than anticipated, he should request for more. The girls he was with ran off in fear of receiving my wrath. Ben looked at me with contempt and was furious. I imagine he had a million things to say at that point, but he couldn't. He let out a suffocated apology and walked back to his desk. There weren't many people in the office. A lot of people had gone to have their lunch, but that didn't stop the news from spreading. I went to eat with some of the higher-ups, and when I came back at the end of the break, me scolding Ben was all anyone could talk about. After that day, I felt an endless chasm between us. I don't think Ben spoke to me for a week after that. He would wake up very early in the morning before I would and go to work, and he would come back late at night when I had slept. He was burying himself in work so much that I couldn't even find anything to complain about when it came to work. And in the office, he tried his best to avoid me. But I still always found a way to shout at him, to criticize his ideas, and to put him down. But not once did he fire back at me. He would just make sure to apologize and tell me he'd work on it. I think I was drunk on power. This cold treatment and avoiding me went on for almost a month until one day during a meeting, I told him the idea he was pitching wasn't good enough, and that was when the manager who was present shut me down. He said that Ben's idea was perfect and asked Ben to go on. I could feel my intestines twirling up. I wanted to snap somebody's neck. And what made me want to explode even more was when I saw the manager talking and laughing with Ben after the meeting. As though that was not enough, people had started calling me Ben's Bane and Jezebel. Apparently, I was rude to a lot of my subordinates, but I was out for Ben's life. I went to see Ben after his chat with the manager and asked what they were talking about. He told me that their conversation was confidential and none of my business, and I lost it. I told him it was all his fault that everyone was calling me Jezebel. I told him that if he only behaved himself at work, we would all get along. Just then, the CEO walked in with the manager and I wore a big fake smile. He was there to see Ben, but he was glad I was there as well. I switched to my ass-kissing mode, and honestly, I was disappointed that I wasn't the one he was looking for. Besides, why would the CEO of our company want to see Ben? He said he had been taking note of Ben for some time now, but that the last month had shown that he was truly dedicated to the company, the kind of man that put in the extra work and hours, and it was for that reason that they were offering him a promotion, a position higher than mine. My eyes nearly fell out of their sockets. Ben was happy to accept, and I had to pretend to be happy and congratulate him. The manager asked me to join him for lunch, and being the ass-kisser that I was, I followed. By the time I came back from lunch, I was thinking about the best way to ask him to turn down the promotion using my usual manipulative behavior. That was when I saw Ben talking with a few friends. I saw that they were all laughing, and I suddenly switched sweet girlfriend mode. I walked to them, and everyone went silent. I congratulated Ben right there in the open and playfully patted his shoulder. One of his friends asked in confusion, "I thought you hated Ben." I laughed and said no. Then Playful slapped his face and said, "He's my doggy." I was trying to be sweet, but Ben didn't take it that way. With a tense face, he gave me a clear warning, asking me to never try that again in my life. He said I was not special to him, so I couldn't do that. I was taken aback. I tried saying, "But we are." He cut me off by saying that we are nothing, and that I meant nothing to him. I was so mad. To spite him, I suddenly told everyone that we're dating. Everyone was shocked to hear this. I went on to say that the only reason he got the promotion was because I put in a good word for him. But since he wasn't being grateful, he was going to reject that promotion. Ben laughed and said he got this promotion fair and square, and that we hadn't been boyfriend and girlfriend for the longest time. He then frowned and asked if I thought he didn't know. He had found out that I slept with some of the bigwigs for my promotion. Everyone gasped, and even when I tried to deny it, he told me that he knew I was still doing it and that he had pictures. He was about to pull out his phone, but then I fell on my knees and grabbed his hand. With tears in my eyes, I began begging for forgiveness. He wouldn't budge. He felt so insulted. He began recounting everything, how I gaslighted him, and he always tried to let it go, calling it the necessary compromises one had to make for a relationship. But he was the only person that saw this as a relationship to begin with. He said I was a user. I only get close to people to use them for my own personal gain, and that he'd rather die than let himself forgive me. Those words hit me so hard. He asked me to tell the truth about what I was going to tell him after he got the promotion. He knew me and guessed correctly when he said he was sure I was coming to ask him to reject the promotion. I couldn't answer, and it was just clear to everyone that he was telling the truth. With the way I had been behaving at the office, his story sounded more plausible. People looked at me like they wanted to spit on me. Ben called me a poisonous, disloyal, and toxic witch and said he didn't ever want anything to do with me. In tears, I told him that our lives were intertwined. We bought a house together and we were working in the same place, and our jobs would most definitely require us to talk to each other. This was my way of saying that he could never leave me, that we were stuck together. Ben laughed and told me that he was moving to his new big office on another floor, so I would get to see him as much as I see snow in the summer. Everyone laughed at those words. But that wasn't all. He told me that he got a new place, and that he had put the house we bought together on the market. He clearly didn't want our paths to ever cross. I laid on my floor pleading, but Ben just began walking away. I grabbed his feet with the words, "Please. I'm sorry, forgive me. I'll never do it again. I love you." But Ben didn't care how much I begged. He asked me to let go of his leg, but I wouldn't. He told me that I was embarrassing myself more than necessary, that I should simply accept the fact that I was the worst human being on earth and just move on. Ben repeatedly told me to let him go, and each time I didn't listen. I kept begging, but he then looked back at me. His eyes were absolutely blazing with fiery destruction. It was clear to me that I had bitten the lion's tail, and I was clearly number one on his most hated people of all time. With one rigorous pull, Ben pulled his leg out of my hold. I begged him, telling him that I couldn't live without him, and he told me that I should have thought about that when I was being so cruel and thoughtless. With that, he walked away. I could see eyes on me from all angles of the office. I wanted the earth to swallow me. But the next best thing happened. I had a panic attack and fainted, but not before I muttered, "Please, Ben, I can't live without you." The next thing I knew was, I woke up at the hospital with no one by my side, not even Ben. It saddened my heart to know that we don't exist anymore. I really want to get him back. I need him. I promise to make it up to him. Please tell me what I should do. I'm desperate for your advice and help. Update. Hello, I'm here again. The worst has happened to me, and I had to fill you guys in with everything that's going on. Yes, Ben had declared our relationship over, and the breakup hurts more than anything. But it wasn't just the breakup that hurt. It was everything that came after. Days later, after our breakup, I was blindsided by my demotion. The head of the department, which was the position I held with pride, was taken from me. After everything that went down that day at the office, together with that fact that I was exposed by Ben that I had slept my way to the top, the company decided I wasn't qualified for the position, and maybe if I start from the scratch, it will be a good for me, so I'll learn what it means to truly work hard for something. Now, I have to watch Ben every day from below. I sit at a smaller desk in the same office where I used to stand tall, give directives, run meetings, and hold everything together. And now that power dynamic has changed, every day feels like a cruel reminder of what I've lost. Watching Ben ascend with the same confidence I used to love is agonizing. Sometimes I catch a glimpse of him, and for a split second I wish things had never changed. I wish I had never treated him that way. He didn't deserve it. I wish I could still be the one at his side, both in work and in life. It was not just the professional hit that stings. It was also the emotional one, too. There were moments when I can still feel his presence, and it reminds of everything I thought we were. I see him laughing with his coworkers, and the knife in my chest twists harder as I realized I was no longer the source of his happiness anymore, and couldn't even share in his moments. Most time, I try to bury my head in work, but it was impossible to ignore the way people in the office look at me now. They all know everything that has happened between us. They know about the demotion, and worst of all is that they know about him and the breakup. Everyone's eyes are on me now, and they're either pitying me or speaking ill of me. Some even pretend to say sorry as if they all know what it feels like to fall from the top and be forced to watch the person who was supposed to love and care about you rise higher alone without you by his side. I tell myself that I can survive this, that I can rebuild my life and mend my reputation, but the truth is, I feel like I'm drowning. Each day I wake up with a pit in my stomach knowing what it feels like to walk into that office and see Ben ignore me, and people having negative talks about me. There are moments when I wonder if it's all some kind of punishment because I pushed him too hard and I pushed us too hard. I was too focused on being demanding and selfish. I know that now. Sometimes I wish I could just forget it all. Forget the way he looked at me when we first started seeing each other, like I was the only one that mattered. But now I am just invisible. I can't even forget the way he loved me and the way I loved him. It torments me every day of my life. There were days I couldn't bring myself to go to work anymore. It became difficult given what I went through at the office every day. There's a part of me that wants to walk away to quit and leave it all behind. But there's this part of me that has refused to believe that we are over, even when I am barely holding it together. So I keep coming to work thinking that maybe when he keeps seeing my face, he will remind it of what we had before it all crashed, and he will realize how truly sorry I am, and his heart will soften, and he will forgive me and love me back. But then, this happened. I remember the moment so vividly. Ben walked toward me, and for a second I let myself feel hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, there was some light in all of this. My heart leapt, and I was thinking he was coming to offer some support, maybe even some comfort. But then, he handed me a letter and said, "The company thinks you should quit. Your presence is affecting their productivity." Then he walked away before I could even say a word to him. He didn't turn back. I felt the room spin around me and my heart sank deeper. It was like every bit of control, of dignity, had been stripped away from me. This wasn't just a job. It was everything I'd worked for, sacrificed for. And now I was being tossed aside like I didn't matter and like my existence was a hindrance. What is left life for me again? Where do I start from? Thousands of questions with no answer. My heart is broken into a million tiny pieces and I don't know how to go on from here. Maybe one day, I'll move on and stop carrying him totally, but it's hard because everything inside me is falling apart. This is going to be last update, and from my last post I got a lot of hate comments here saying I am an abuser and a manipulator. Yes, I know I did a lot of things the wrong way, but I am human, and I'm trying my best to be a better person now. And as much as I would like to agree with most of you that I deserve everything that's happening to me, no one should ever have to go through this. I wish I could address your comments to why I did what I did to him, but I can't. Some things just don't have easy answers, so please move on with your life as I will try to move on with my life. But no assurance given because I am drowning in pain with every second that passes by. Anyways, thanks for reading, and for those of you who stuck with me through this, I appreciate it more than you know. I'm not sure what comes next, but I know life is unpredictable, and all I can do is hold on and hope things get better. What I'm about to share today is my story of how I messed up my marriage due to an instant urge to do something reckless. This stupid decision led to changing my life in the most drastic way possible. I never thought that one impulsive action could have such a devastating impact on my life and the lives of those around me. It's a painful lesson that I will carry with me forever, reminding me to think before acting on any sudden urges. To anyone curious about me, my name is Camilla, female 27, and my husband is Donnie, male 31. We had been married for a little over 2 years with no kids. I met him at the gym where I worked as a Zumba instructor. He was the nerdy guy who was probably bullied and had taken up a spur-in-the-moment decision to join a gym and bulk up. Well, that is what I thought about him. Turns out he was actually a software engineer who just wanted to improve his health. Despite our differences, we quickly fell in love and got married in a small ceremony surrounded by our closest friends and family. Donnie was working on developing an app where people could balance their mental and physical health at the same time. I thought that it was a great idea for an app and could probably be the turning point in our lives. If everything worked out, then I would not have to work my ass off as a Zumba instructor and live the rest of my life in peace chilling at a beach sipping margaritas. Donnie's app had the potential to revolutionize the wellness industry and provide a much-needed solution for busy individuals seeking balance. I couldn't wait to see how his hard work would pay off and potentially change our lives for the better. He pitched his plan to a lot of companies, but no one was willing to invest in his app. This led to him feeling dejected and depressed. It started affecting our relationship as he lost interest in sex and lovemaking. As days went by, he was just sulking at home doing nothing and being miserable. I knew that this could not go on for longer as I had my own needs and sexual desires that were getting affected. I tried to talk to him about maybe working on something else for the time being to keep him occupied. I suggested seeking professional help to address his feelings of dejection and depression, as it was impacting both of us. I emphasized the importance of finding a solution together to improve our relationship and his mental well-being. He disappeared for a few days and asked me to leave him alone so that he could come up with a solution. I did not know what to do, so I let him be so that it could help him process his feelings and come back as a happier and more cheerful person. After a week, he came home with a new energy in him. He told me that he found an investor, but not for the app. I was confused and did not know what he was talking about. He explained to me that he met a guy who suggested opening a gym with the same concept as an app, and then launching an app for the same. He told him that it could help him buy rights to everything later that launched with a similar concept. He was excited about this new opportunity and couldn't wait to get started on the gym project. I could see the passion in his eyes as he talked about his plans for the future. The next few days were full of positivity, where we were talking about what all we could incorporate in this gym that would be different from the other ones. Donnie's partner was to join us soon to discuss other things as well. He would be one of the partners and also a trainer for physical fitness. I came back from work and noticed him sitting with Donnie discussing in all seriousness. I could not believe that my husband had a really good-looking friend who was both hot and ribbed. I was immediately attracted to him right from the moment I saw him. He and Donnie were discussing starting a new business together. It was a fitness gym which would focus on both muscle building and also mental health. It was a new concept which I believed would be a good concept that could take off really well. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of jealousy at the thought of my husband spending so much time with him. Despite my initial attraction, I knew that supporting Donnie in his business endeavors was the most important thing. Maybe this could help me spend some time with Ben. I was also involved in the process of helping them set up the business, as I would be the Zumba instructor, so I had a say in choosing a place. I helped where I could to spend time with both Ben and Donnie. I tried so hard to try and focus on work and Donnie, but immediately would start drooling over Ben, which I knew was not the right thing to do. I knew I needed to maintain professionalism and keep my feelings in check, but it was difficult when Ben was always so charming and supportive. Despite the internal struggle, I remained dedicated to helping Ben and Donnie succeed in their new business venture. Donnie was busy with making the web page and all the tech stuff, as he was the one who was the brains behind our business. This helped Ben and I to spend more time with each other. We were still scouting places and locations for our gym. We would drive around the city shortlisting potential places that seemed likely. I could tell that there was a lot in common between us that helped the conversations flow smoothly. We liked the same music and ate the same things, which made us much more comfortable with each other. Our shared interests made it easy to bond and collaborate on our business venture. As we continued to work together, our connection grew stronger, solidifying our partnership both personally and professionally. One day when we were scouting a place all by ourselves and I accidentally spilled coffee all over my top. I tried washing it off, which made my top even more transparent. I could see the way Ben was looking at me when I walked out of the washroom. I could tell that he was able to notice my bra from my transparent top. I acted as if I was unaware of the situation and walked towards him as if nothing was wrong. I went about looking around the place and acted as if I was interested in the place while keeping an eye on what Ben was looking at. I called Ben to ask him about something and made sure that I had my bra pushed down so that he could get a good look at my body. I could see that he was trying hard not to be too obvious about it. I wanted to seize this opportunity to know what he thought of me, so I tripped and brushed my lips on his. Ben seemed surprised at first, but then quickly reciprocated the kiss. It was a risky move, but I was curious to see where it would lead. It was a long and passionate kiss which we both enjoyed. When we pulled out of the kiss, Ben was smiling sheepishly and said that he was sorry that he got carried away. I told him that it was not just his fault as I was to blame equally in this situation. I slowly made sure that the distance between us remained as close as possible while we were still talking and feeling embarrassed with the kiss. I asked him if he liked what he saw from my sheer top and blinked at him. He knew that I was aware of him looking at my body and wanted him to check me out. Ben chuckled nervously and admitted that he did like what he saw. I couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement at his response, wondering where this unexpected moment would lead us next. I was glad that he was attracted to me as well. We started kissing again and slowly started taking off our clothes. We were about to reach base 4 when Donnie called me. We were startled and pulled away and forgot that we had to update him about the place.
Yep.
We barely managed to take a good look and discuss our options, so there was not much we could tell him. It was already an hour since we were here, so we lied to him that it was a good place and we could add it to our options. We laughed as we made our way to the car and decided to try not to cross the line again. As we drove away, we couldn't help but feel a little guilty about not being completely honest with him. However, we knew that sometimes white lies were necessary to spare someone's feelings. Ben and I tried so hard not to go overboard, but it was getting more and more difficult as we were physically attracted to each other. We could hardly keep our hands off each other. Every time we went out alone, we would always end up making out in the car. We concluded that it was difficult for us to stay away from each other, and there was no point in trying hard and not being able to maintain our resolve to stay away. Our conversations moved on from boring business stuff to sexy and raunchy texts. We even started sharing sexual pictures of getting out of the shower and lingerie pics to excite each other. I knew that I had a fab body and made sure to flaunt it to excite Ben. I loved the attention and validation I received from him, and it made me feel confident and desired. However, looking back, I realized that our relationship was based more on physical attraction than emotional connection. The more I was getting attracted to Ben, the more my relationship with Donnie was suffering. We started having less sex and did not even have lengthy conversations anymore. Donnie was always so consumed with working on his code that even if I tried to forget about Ben and try to give us a chance, it was getting difficult. It had been a month since we opened our gym and had our hands full. We were running in circles trying to make sure that everything was in place and there were no issues or complaints from any of our potential clients. I went for a bathroom break and decided to take a break from all the stress. I pulled out my phone and clicked a few pictures looking all sexy. I got a wild idea and clicked a few nudes. I knew that Ben and I had not shared an intimate moment in a really long time, so I decided to share a picture with him just to excite him a little. I wanted to see his reaction, so I sent him a naked picture of mine with a fire emoji to tempt him, as it had been too long since we spent time alone. Donnie asked for my phone after I returned as he wanted to check on a few features on the app that we would be launching soon. I gave my phone to Donnie to take some pictures of the Zumba area while I went to talk to some girls to sign them up. I think that was the biggest mistake I made. I did not expect Ben to reply to my picture while he was busy attracting clients. Ben's response to the picture on my phone led to an unexpected turn of events that I never saw coming. It definitely made me realize the importance of being cautious with giving my phone to Donnie without thinking about it. When I realized that the message from Ben was showing as it opened, I knew that Donnie had seen my picture, and also Ben's response to it with a dick pic. Donnie acted as if there was nothing wrong, but I knew that he had seen the picture and the message sent by Ben. I was anxious on the ride home as I did not know how Donnie would take it and what his reaction would be. I knew that he was obviously angry by this betrayal. I decided to confront Donnie about it as soon as we got home, wanting to address the situation head on. I hoped that we could have an honest conversation and work through the issue together. We went home, and the entire ride back home, Donnie did not utter a single word. I knew that he knew about my affair with Ben and that I was trying to seduce him by sending him nude pictures. I waited for him to say something before I tried to say something that he did not have an idea about. As we pulled into the driveway, Donnie finally broke the silence by calmly asking me about the pictures I had sent Ben. My heart sank as I realized there was no avoiding this conversation any longer. I took a deep breath and decided to come clean, knowing that honesty was the only way to salvage our relationship. I braced myself for the difficult conversation ahead, hoping that we could work through this betrayal together. The confrontation was quite uncivilized the more and more I spoke in detail. It started very subtly when I told Donnie that since things were not working out between us, I got carried away. There was actually no reason for me to have an affair apart from not being able to give each other time. I really did not have an issue with Donnie as such. It was only that his friend was much more chiseled and good-looking than he was. He started showing a little interest in me, and that gave me a kick to reciprocate and have fun. In the idea of just having fun, I got carried away and broke all my inhibitions, crossed all the lines, and slept with my husband's friend. I had not only ruined our relationship, but also their friendship. I never intended for things to go that far, but in the moment, I made a selfish decision that I now deeply regret. The guilt and shame I feel now is overwhelming, and I know that repairing the damage done will be a long and difficult process. I felt guilty and tried apologizing to Donnie about cheating in our relationship, which I had not exactly planned to do. It just happened, and for reasons unknown, I could not stop myself from continuing to sleep with his friend. I knew that Donnie was hurt and felt betrayed by both of us. I realized that my actions had consequences and that I needed to take responsibility for the pain I caused. Moving forward, I knew I had to work on rebuilding trust and repairing the damage I had done to our relationship. Donnie was visibly upset with coming to know that he had trusted us and left us to scout places for our business while he was slogging off making codes and the website for it. We were busy undressing each other and enjoying each other's bodies while he was assuming that we were being serious about work. I knew that there was no excuse I could give him for my actions. I felt ashamed that I broke his trust in me, and I just wanted to do anything that could make things right between us. I realized that I needed to apologize and make amends for my mistake, even if it meant sacrificing my own desires. Donnie deserved honesty and respect, and I was determined to earn back his trust. I begged Donnie to forgive me and give me and our relationship another chance. He said that there was nothing much he wanted to talk about right now. He just wanted to be left alone to process everything that he discovered today. He needed some time alone to gather his feelings and come up with what he felt about the entire situation. It took 2 days for Donnie to make up his mind and finally forgive me. I was very happy that finally maybe I could try and make some amends. I knew I had hurt him deeply, and I was relieved that he was willing to give me another chance. I vowed to show him through my actions that I had truly changed. I did try my best to make sure to cut ties with Ben. We worked together, so it was difficult not to keep seeing each other or running into each other regularly, but I made sure to make it very clear to him that I did not want to mess up this second chance that Donnie had given me. I made a conscious effort to prioritize my relationship with Donnie and distance myself from any potential sources of conflict. It was important to me to show him that I was committed to making things right and earning back his trust. I would like to thank each and every one of you who have been supportive of my choices and helped me make the right decision. It was difficult, but not impossible. To anyone going through something similar, I would like to tell you that it's not impossible to be loyal and rectify your mistakes if you put your mind to it. I would like to say that if I could do it, so can you. Please do not lose hope and be sincere in your apology so that you get a second chance to not mess things up. Update. It was 2 months since Donnie found out about my affair with Ben. I tried my best to be the perfect wife and not give any excuses to Donnie to complain. I restricted my interaction with Ben at a strict professional level. I could see things going back to normal between Donnie and I. I made sure to prioritize my marriage and show Donnie how much he meant to me. I knew that rebuilding trust would take time, but I was committed to making things right. I started making time for Donnie, making sure that we spent time together at home cooking or in common things we enjoyed doing. I also made an effort to communicate openly with Donnie about my feelings and reassure him of my commitment to our relationship. It was important for me to show him through my actions that he was my top priority. Everything was perfect till something happened that changed our equation again. I just got out of a shower after my Zumba class and was drying myself in the locker rooms when Ben came in all sweaty after one of his HIIT classes, I believe. It was just the two of us, and he was looking damn hot with all that sweat dripping from his chest. He looked at me, and I could tell that he was lusting over me the same as I was over him. In a fraction of a second, we were in each other's mouths. We started kissing each other hungrily without even thinking about anything else. A woman walked out of the shower, and we made it just in time to distance ourselves. It was a very close call to get caught. I was a bit unsure if she saw us, but the way she walked out told me that maybe she had no idea what we were doing. We both smiled at each other, and I decided to keep this a secret from Donnie. I did not want things to go out of control now that he was slowly starting to trust me again. I quickly grabbed my clothes and headed out of the room, feeling relieved that we had narrowly avoided being caught. As I walked away, I couldn't help but feel a sense of guilt for keeping this secret from Donnie, but I knew it was for the best to protect our fragile relationship. The locker room had become our go-to spot to make out as it was the only place with no cameras, and most of the time it would be empty. We would enjoy taking showers together and making out against the hard surfaces. We made wild love whenever we got a chance. We made sure to be as far away from each other as possible when not alone, so that Donnie could continue to trust that nothing was going on between us. We were careful to keep our relationship discreet, always acting like just friends in front of others. Our secret rendezvous in the locker room added an element of excitement to our forbidden romance. I finished my class and walked to the reception where I saw my pictures with Ben scattered all over the place. I don't know from where Donnie received the pictures of me and Ben making out in the locker room. He immediately charged at me, screaming my name like a maniac, showing me the pictures. This had led to him turning into a furious animal, shouting and throwing things around the gym in front of everyone. I was shocked and embarrassed by his outburst, especially since I had no idea how he got a hold of those private photos. The situation quickly escalated, causing a scene that left everyone in the gym stunned and uncomfortable. I looked at Ben, who silently managed to slip out of the gym before someone noticed him. I felt angry at him for leaving me to deal with the situation all alone. I took a deep breath and reminded myself that I was capable of handling it on my own. I squared my shoulders and stepped forward to face the challenge head on. I told Donnie that I tried my best to keep my distance from Ben, but after a point it became impossible. Maybe this is how I am. I did not know why, but making out with Ben excites me, while having sex with him also does not make me feel satisfied. I told him very honestly that maybe we were both not on the same sexual level, and that is the reason why I keep going back to Ben and cheating on him. I admitted that I needed to figure out what I truly wanted, and that it wasn't fair to continue hurting Donnie in the process. I promised to take some time to reflect on my feelings and make a decision that would be best for both of us. He was furious at my rather honest confession. He told me that I should have been honest with him right from the start. He would have let me go on my own if I had told him that I was not sexually happy with him. Cheating was something he could not easily forgive. This was the second time that he had caught me red-handed, and he does not want to repeat the same mistake again. He asked me to move out of the house and posted pictures of me and Ben everywhere on the internet. I was devastated after Donnie ruined my reputation as a man-stealer and kicked me out of our business partnership. I could see his double standards for kicking me out, but trying to put it all together and be professional with Ben. I mean, we were both in the wrong and cheated on Donnie together, so how could he let go of what Ben did and not give me another chance at least being professional? It was frustrating to see Donnie's hypocrisy in action, especially since both you and Ben were equally at fault. It's disappointing that he couldn't see past his own biases and give you a fair chance to redeem yourself in the business partnership. I struggled a lot to find a decent job as a Zumba instructor at a reputed gym due to all the bad image created about me by Donnie. Living alone was getting tougher by the day as I was left with a little money in my account. I decided to find a job to support me till I could find something that paid me well. I eventually found a job as a receptionist at a local spa, which helped me make ends meet while I continued my search for a better opportunity. It was a humbling experience, but it taught me the importance of perseverance and resilience in the face of challenges. One day, a customer asked me if I was any good at massages. I was taken aback by his question, but politely smiled and declined, saying that I was not a professional masseuse. He told me that he did not need a professional for his massages, but just someone who was sexy and beautiful. I found it weird, but just smiled and ignored him. Maybe this was how all spas were, and maybe the receptionist gets hits all the time by these kinds of men. I made a mental note to discuss the encounter with my manager later, to ensure that appropriate boundaries were maintained with customers. It was important to create a professional and respectful environment for both staff and clients. My manager laughed when I brought it up and said that this was normal behavior, as men would generally be relaxed and happy after a massage. He just asked me to ignore it and focus on my work. I hated this new job, but I had no choice as I needed to keep up with my bills and have a place to live. I wondered what my life could have been had I not had that affair with Ben. Maybe Donnie and I would still be together, as I could see that the gym was doing really well. I would not have had to deal with such cheap men and live a comfortable life. I regretted the decisions I made in the past, but I knew I had to focus on making the best of my current situation. Perhaps with time and hard work, I could eventually find a job that brought me fulfillment and stability. I decided to try and talk to Donnie again and ask him to at least consider me as a Zumba instructor and nothing more for the time being. I went to the gym the next day and found out that Donnie had hired a really young girl as a Zumba instructor. I could see that a lot of men had signed up for Zumba, which was quite weird. I then looked at the instructor and knew the reason for it. She was barely wearing any clothes. It was more of a sensual outfit than a trainer-appropriate one. She did not mind men staring at her, and she often gave them a chance to take a good look at her assets. I was about to make my way in when I saw her come and give a big kiss to Donnie. I stood there in disbelief as I knew that Donnie was never the type to be interested in such girls. I quickly realized that there was more to the situation than met the eye, and decided to observe a bit longer before making any judgments. As I watched further, I noticed that Donnie seemed too comfortable with the instructor's behavior, indicating that there may be a deeper story behind their relationship. I then started walking home thinking about what I had just seen. There was not an ounce of doubt that Donnie was using this girl for his own benefit, or she could be using him for his money. Anyway, that was not what I wanted to think about. I went to meet Donnie strictly to talk about work. What I saw was a shock to me, but I could not stop myself from being envious of this girl. How could I be so open and kiss my husband in public without any shame? We were technically still married, so she had no rights to kiss him. I also knew that I had no right to confront Donnie about it since I did more than just kiss his friend. I decided to keep my emotions in check and focus on the reason I was there, to discuss work with Donnie. However, the image of him with that girl lingered in my mind, making it difficult to concentrate on the conversation. It was a reminder of the messy situation we were all entangled in. I sat at home thinking of what I should do next. Of course, Donnie was not going to hire me as he had his own girlfriend that he could spend time with. I knew that I had to find an alternate solution to my financial problems. I tried hard, but I could not sleep at night imagining all the things that Donnie might be doing with his girlfriend. It made me realize what he might have gone through when he saw the pictures of me and Ben. I could now relate to what he must have felt back then. I knew that it was already too late, but maybe I should go and apologize to him for all that I had done to him with no fault of his. I decided to reach out to Donnie and ask for forgiveness, hoping to alleviate some of the guilt that was weighing on me. I knew it wouldn't change the past, but it was a step towards healing and moving forward. I sent him a text apologizing for what I did, to which he replied, "Once a slut, always a slut. Don't try to reach out to me again and I'm going to block you." I cried reading the message over and over. I knew that all he had been was nice to me and I just went ahead and cheated on me. I knew that I did not deserve a person like him. His message made it clear that he would never ever want to see me again in his life. I realized that my actions had consequences and that I needed to take responsibility for hurting him. I made a promise to myself to learn from this experience and never repeat the same mistake in the future. Thank you all for being so patient and showing such great interest in my story. Please make sure to not mess up your life if you do not have any substantial problems in your life. Things will change soon, so do not get greedy and try to mess things up by coming up with stupid and wild ideas that could ruin your life. This is what I learned from my mistakes and would suggest you to do the same. Thank you again and have a happy life together.